Richie Mars, is it Raw or is it SmackDown? What is this concept of this little show we got going on here?
So pretty much the concept is we'll take a bunch of stars, past and present and future, of Raw and SmackDown. We get to determine what show is their quintessential show. If they were to retire tomorrow, what is the jersey we'll hang up on the rafters? Is it a Raw jersey or a SmackDown jersey? And that's what we're doing here today.
And Richie, you have a guest of today. MJ, are you more of a Raw guy or a SmackDown guy?
SmackDown. Especially as a kid, I was a big fan of the SmackDown 6 and just everything that happened on the SmackDown roster in the early 2000s. And I just kind of always stuck with SmackDown.
Richie, we tend to have more SmackDowners than Rawers, so we're going to have to kind of shake that up a little bit. I'm going to have to start kind of like purging the herd before they come in here in approval. So we need more Raw people on here.
Listen, we're hearing like, we're getting that like brand warfare going on. I'm gonna have a solid War Games team if that's what we're gonna do.
What we're gonna do now is spin the wheel and see where we land in which wrestler. All right, MJ, you got one guy left on spin the wheel, and let's see who you wind up. Hopefully it's a doozy. All right, it's not the sexiest guy, but I can definitely see a case for this guy either way.
There we go.
All right, MJ, you wound up with Kofi Kingston. I don't know if he's making me crazy on Raw or SmackDown yet, but my gut would tell me Raw. I don't know why, but my gut would tell me Raw. Richie, you?
I'm going to go SmackDown.
Interesting. All right, MJ, well, what would your gut tell you before we kind of dive into the stats?
I was going to say Raw.
Yeah. Okay, so we're 2-1. And let's go to the stats and see if anyone gets skewed. All right. Biggest reason why I thought right away, instinctively, gut reaction Raw was because of 2009. And that moment right there from Madison Square Garden where he was going to jump off. But other than that, he won the U.S. title in April 2013. The tag title wins with CM Punk in 2008. The match versus Ivar twice in 2023. The New Day anniversary from December 2024, and that picture where I talked about earlier, the boom drop on Randy Orton. Richie, what are some of his SmackDown moments?
We went with 2019. How can you not? With Kofi Mania, which led to his WWE Championship win. You had the New Days and the Usos feud. A lot of people think that's what was probably the top WWE tag team feud in the past decade. You had the boom drop, the sequel on Randy Orton on SmackDown. You had the gauntlet match, multiple gauntlet matches. There was the two he was a part of, and then the gauntlet match win before WrestleMania, where you had the New Day win Kofi's spot for him. And then, of course, it's not the best moment, but it's the most memorable. It was that match versus Brock Lesnar on the Fox debut.
See, Richie, you started so hot. I'm like, oh, Kofi Mania, that's a really good case for 2019 and SmackDown. But then you were like, oh, 2019 SmackDown, Brock Lesnar.
Well, here's the thing. With Kofi's WWE Championship run, it's deceivingly dominant, where it's like you would think he would be booked as like an underdog champion, but he was very win heavy throughout this entire run. He only lost about once or twice in tag matches, but with Kofi as champion, he defeated Daniel Bryan, as we all know. He defeated AJ Styles, Sami Zayn, Orton, Dolph Ziggler, Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe.
It's
a lot of people he defeated during that entire run.
Well, we'll see. I'm curious how many men he defeated in his 355 Raw matches versus his 273 SmackDown matches. He's been on Raw a lot more in 2025, so I'd probably say at least 360, maybe even 365 Raw matches since we accumulated these stats in May 2025, and now we're here in October. So, that's 5 months later. MJ, gut reaction off of all these stats. You were kind of thinking and leaning Raw. Where are you at now after digesting all these stats?
Very much Raw. I'm still Raw, okay. But the numbers, the percentages, a lot closer than I thought. I always forget that the New Day spent a lot of time on SmackDown.
The majority of their run was on SmackDown to kick it off.
I always forget that for some reason. But when I think of Kofi and I think of Raw, not only like New Day and now, I also think of Jamaican character run, that tag team title run with CM Punk. You have the infamous moment with Triple H. Weren't you supposed to be Jamaican?
Yeah, that's a good segment.
How about
Before
Air
the
Boom?
Survivor Series, yeah.
Anybody with Air Boom? Come on.
Yeah, the Air Boom tag team. I love the Air
Multiple
Boom.
mid-card hot titles on Raw.
Yeah, the IC title runs. I love Air Boom. Evan Bourne, freaking amazing.
I will make a case for SmackDown, Richie, because my initial instincts were Raw, but Kofi Mania and pretty much SmackDown Live to Fox was very crucial in Kofi Kingston's SmackDown case, because with the New Day, once SmackDown was a brand split and became SmackDown Live, they moved, like you said, MJ, moved the New Day to SmackDown, and they became fodder for the mid-card pretty much and filling a lot of TV on SmackDown Live. And then all that goodwill for 2 to 3 years warranted a title run in 2019. Forced or not, Richie, I still think it was a little forced. And it was some really high highs. I got to look at the picture right there, that rap moment with Wale. The rap battle was pretty cool. But it really is a historical tag team with 2 historical tag teams. He's a third of the New Day, but ultimately it's Kofi Kingston we're talking about, not the New Day, even though he's a part of the New Day. And I think you should weigh that for the SmackDown case. And honestly, I'd like to see the percentages, because during the pandemic, he was on Raw as a tag team and coming out of his world title run, and he's been pretty much on Raw throughout with the New Day as well too. So yeah, we might think of years past on SmackDown, but New Day wise, I'm wondering what the percentage would be.
Well, I could tell you their first match was actually on SmackDown, so if that has anything to do with anything, I think that should be thrown into consideration. And also with the mid card titles, the IC and the US Championships, you have Kofi. I believe he won both on both shows. I think he's the only one to actually do that. He might have won the US just on Raw, but I think there was a time where he was US on SmackDown. I could be wrong though. But again, those middle of the road championship runs kind of like blend together, with which was the case with majority of those guys at the time who were like in that US IC title run, where it's like they would be the champion, but they would really just be there to kind of lose to Randy Orton, Wade Barrett, and Sheamus, and all those people who were just a little bit above that stake. So you got to feel for them a little bit. I do think, at least for the tag team scene, where you have, on one side you have the longest reigning tag team champions of all time with the New Day, majority on Raw, but also you had the feud with the Usos, which was, I think, very impactful for tag team wrestling as a whole. So I'm not sure if that evens out whatsoever when it comes to that. And
SmackDown's case is the Usos feud and Kofi Mania.
Yeah,
right? And him as world champion. What do you think of that? That's SmackDown's cases.
Yeah, and the world champion, that was Kofi's time to be a solo performer, because even though he was with the New Day, it was really the focus on him. And honestly, you saw the flaws of Kofi as a singles performer, because they would try to center the feud around him, but there's just not much to develop there because he's been with the New Day for so long. I think once he won the WWE title, a lot of people were kind of thinking, all right, he got the moment. He's probably going to lose it within the next couple months, maybe. And then those couple months turned into about 6 or 7 months before he got squashed to Brock. Happy anniversary, by the way. But
Richie, you did put that as a career highlight, though, for SmackDown.
It is crazy. Getting squashed as a career highlight is wild to do.
Because it was probably his, to be honest, that's probably the most watched match in WWE SmackDown history, if you really think about it. At least when it transferred to Fox, and at least on the national scale for recency.
Yeah, you blink your eyes, you miss it. Yeah, Cain Velasquez comes out. What are we doing, right?
Well, that's after the match. That's not during the match.
Yeah, but still, that big moment is Cain Velasquez's moment, at a flash of a bulb. So, all right, actually, this is one of the times where I could be skewed. MJ, would you like to skew me either way before we vote?
I'm very much still him being a Raw guy. Again, you have some great Raw moments there. I'm very much also a fan of that early work. the Jamaican McCrazy character is just so top notch in my opinion, and I think it should have been given more. That run needs to be talked about more as him being a great like upper middle card guy who had a lot of great moments because that's where you start getting the Royal Rumble moments during that Raw Jamaican McCrazy run. You get like him doing all the crazy acrobatic shit.
All right, so let's go backwards. Richie or MJ, you want to vote? You kick us off and vote.
I got Raw.
Richie.
I'm sticking with SmackDown just because I feel like Kofi Mania was just like I think it was more impactful than I think a lot of people give it credit for. And I think for Kofi, it really did highlight like the culmination of his journey as a performer. And again, his run actually wasn't bad, just they didn't really know what to do with it afterwards.
I still lie in the case that it was a little overrated. All right, the Usos, that's where I would carry the weight, even though you think WWF title run is historical and whatnot. But I think it's fine as a run. I think it's fine. The gauntlet matches are great high points too, as well, like you talked about earlier. The boom drop on Orton, the sequel, again, kind of forced. The first one was so organic and good and over. And to call it back, I don't blame him. It just doesn't come close to that first one on Raw. I really like the tag team with CM Punk. I think it's being slept on a little bit, not enough to carry the water for Raw, but I definitely think it's a cool part of his era that needs to be talked about, like you said, MJ. The mid-card title wins, I couldn't tell you how many versus who, when, where, what. I don't know. I just know they were a bunch for Dolph Ziggler, Miz, Sheamus. I don't know.
Cesaro too, yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of forgotten about. And I don't know if that's on Kofi or the company or the time. I don't know. The Ivar matches are really cool. Even the LA Knight match a few weeks ago on Raw was pretty cool and good. He is a solid in-ring performer. But he was overpushed as world champion. I get the moment is a WrestleMania moment, in my opinion, not a SmackDown moment. Even though the run and the short build was on SmackDown, I just lean Raw because when I close my eyes, that's still what I think of, even though you've skewed me a little bit towards the SmackDown side. And I just think the only thing that really actually carries the water is the Usos and the New Day, and he's 1/5 of that. And his title reign is great, but I don't want to force my pick, no pun intended, to kind of go towards SmackDown if I feel that title reign was just fine. So to kind of close it out here, I think Kofi Kingston's Raw, and it's kind of controversial in my opinion. So I guess we heard it here first. Kofi Kingston, Richie, you want to say it is?
Kofi Kingston is Raw.
Oh, sorry we had to do it to you, buddy, but
it's fine. I've had plenty of wins on SmackDown recently. I should probably give you a couple.
So MJ, it was great having you on. Thanks, buddy.
Thank y'all.